when we look at all the different types of content online, it's very interesting as an online marketer and entrepreneur to not only look at the misinformation that continues to lead people, but also understand that that misinformation are belief systems based on past subject matters and subject matter experts, I should specify. So as a 5D individual mystic, a person who is consistently educating myself with new information in addition to remembering the gist of the old information, just came across, for example, one of those lovely pieces of content on a great website or YouTube channel, I should say, but I'm sure they have a website where they gather all different authors and educators, and they have a buttload of beautiful videos. So this one was titled something about unrequited love and how love is unrequited. And I'm like, no, it's not. You obviously didn't learn about the polyvagal theory or Stephen Porges in my polyvagal theory class. And yes, Stephen Porges is still building more empirical data. So when you go to Wikipedia, somehow it's still introducing the polyvagal theory as unproven. But every one of the trauma experts, somatic experts, and anyone who's helping people in mental health knows about Stephen Porges and the polyvagal theory, because that is actually how our nervous system works, meaning he's found a way to explain to us, or the gist of it is, we have the social engagement system, and Stephen Porges talks to us about it, and he lets us in on a little secret that you cannot love in your body unless your social engagement system is on, and that's your ventral vagal nerve. It's part of our parasympathetic nervous system response, which is to rest and rejuvenate. The psychology Buddhists that I learned from in one of these webinars also mentioned the ventral vagal nerve, and yoga are a bunch of ventral vagal nerve toning exercises. They also allow you to learn how to do mindfulness, which is what allows you to start to control and or work with your neocortex, your brain. And then you should also know that we have 3 layers to our brain: the reptilian, that brainstem; the mammalian, I believe, is the limbic system, which includes the amygdala, the hippocampus, and maybe other areas that I won't remember all the time. And then our cortex, the near part of our brain, which is where we think. Emotions are what begin the engagement for you of anything, and those emotions are your nervous system, actually. And oh, I forgot the other part of our lovely nervous system. Thank you, psychology Buddhists. The flight, fight, freeze, which is our reptilian, our older, ancient nervous system response. And here, our bodies, they can be restorative, which is in their natural, actual habitat, the way they are all supposed to be, humanly speaking, or dysregulated or modulated. And those would be individuals who, the modulated, the sympathetic, they're in a constant self-preservation mode. And I think it's about, flight or fight, but it's just very much in that active hyper. And dysregulated, we have fatigue, distressed, and there's postures that somatic experts, I learned this from my Awakened Embodied Certificate course on EP. You can go check it out, Embodied Philosophy. It's great for anyone who actually wants to either improve their own knowledge of being a human, or maybe you like to do personal development and support people to tap into their infinite higher human consciousness potential, because it is infinite. So back to the fact that love is not unrequited, because you can't be in a state of love unless you are in a social engagement state. Because when you are in, physiologically speaking, thank you, compassion therapy trainers, for teaching me what happens in an MRI when we are in a physiological state of compassion, which is the optimal state of anyone who's actually, again, in the wishing to support each other. And really what it is you're safe in your own body, and you're safe with people. So before we begin, I think polyvagal theory Dr. Stephen Porges calls it neuroception, the fact that we all have a default mode network that has others in the self, and it's consistently scanning to ensure, can I turn on my social engagement system or can I turn it off? When you hear the people that only speak spiritual or spirituality language say shut off the monkey brain, what they don't realize is that they're not talking about you thinking. It's actually this oats. Because when you learn about the integrated mind, which is the healthy human mind, thank you, Daniel Siegel, and you can achieve this all on your own or with the support of a very good somatic sensory-motor trauma expert, a good mentor, guide, a good meaning someone who knows at the very least the foundation or something about getting you here. I mean, I know a lot of people help people, but without telling you what they're helping you with, you won't take ownership of it. So you don't really know why you want to meditate or why you want to do yoga. You don't know what's happening to your body, so you think you're doing an activity that makes you something more, but really you're just beginning a process which is called allowing yourself to move into your inner well-being. A restorative embodied self means you can sit in your body with a social engagement system on, which means you can engage with people with respect and love and compassion, no matter what they are doing on the other end, which is why we do not react, we respond. Those reactions are implicit memory, they're safety behaviors, they are adaptive children emotional responses. A lot of people, I see them in those states, they're adults, but they don't know how to work with their emotions because they have a lot of leaders who tell them emotions are stupid instead of telling them where they come from. So back to this default mode network that scans for others and the self. The 5D mystic with the love cycle. Our default mode network is always off, meaning we're always ready to engage with people and to enjoy ourselves. In fact, life is a joyride. We don't really know of human suffering because when we have an emotion come up, we don't suppress it and we're not in our temporal junction. We actually name it and move to our prefrontal cortex. I'm feeling sad. Oh yeah, that person over there, they actually insulted me. Well, it's normal. Let me see. Maybe I'll find out why they insulted me. Hey, you want to let me in on why you insulted me? Oh, that's the reason. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Very straightforward. We don't actually need those social filters to guide us on what it means to communicate. Very straightforward because we have access to our left and right mode. We have access to our linguistic center and our nonverbal center, and we're picking up immediately on the body language, and in front of us is not a human being with a physical knife or gun or anything like that, so we don't need to get into a fight mode and get all defensive and go to adaptive child. Let me prove I'm right. Let me make it all about me. Let me go ahead and try to control this situation and you, and let me not recognize that I'm in a situation that is communicative, but it seems like it's a little battlefield going on between egos. And that's something that the 4D community or 3D community wants to talk about as human nature. No, it's the reptilian nervous system with the shame cycle, blame, fault, revenge cycles that limit human potential, but that most people think makes them badass somehow. And I say most people, I shouldn't say that. But even the spiritual bypassers, there's a bunch of people that are quite in their egos about the things they're doing, the holistic middle ground, and they don't realize that they're not better than anyone else. We're all humans. We all actually are great at being able to maybe work with our emotions or not so great. And the suppressive agents for those types of not so great include compulsive activities, sex, drugs, alcohol, food, all of what you'll see in a movie. There's one, I forget what it's called. It's the guy that goes off to his friend's wedding and they all get pretty, I'm not even going to bother saying it. And apparently that seems cool to people to do. A person that knows about compulsiveness equating human suffering being masked, not so cool. To see adults throw away their life because they don't know about their body. So again, back to love. When we are in a state of compassion. So when your default mode network is downregulated, which happens with an integrated mind, thank you, Daniel Siegel. So the integration of the mind is where your left and right communicate equally, where all hands are on deck and you are utilizing to the optimal way your lovely brain here. It's in your skull and the nervous system, and you're aware of the sensations and you do not shove them down. They come up. You also learn from my 5D Mystics, there's another course I'm taking. It's very beautiful about energy, and I can't wait to finish it because there are like windows of quote-unquote tolerance for the energy intake, so we can expand the energy we hold, which, FYI, that's when you're getting your light bodies. And then you move into that rainbow body. So I've had at least 3 or 4 light bodies, my rainbow body, and then after the rainbow body, every year, sometimes I will feel that charge expand. So recently with the full moon, for example, and that's a side note for my mystics, because I know some of you are not in the sphere of being perceptive of the energy field around you, but also there's not the relationship with this field of intelligence. But those of us who do, we channel guidance. We have a lot of aspects that we look to contribute in addition to those lovely Akashic record readings or tarot readings. It's an actual way to support the people that you come across to expand to their next best spot if they want to. We all have a sense of self. We all have a self. Every person has fragmented sense of self, meaning there are parts that can have been broken. So we all have what they will say is a portion of trauma. These are those charged states. So they're frozen like icicles, and they have age groups. And it's not because something bad has to have happened to you. It's because trauma, FYI, is when the body goes through too much, too soon, too fast, and your body doesn't process it. So it stays stored in a trauma memory, and in time, your body's going to move into its wholeness all on its own, because it's a biology, it's a memory, meaning it is cellular. And I use words that, again, the rigid leaders don't like the new words we use and the new information, because they want to stick to just what was before machines began to help us see inside the brain. And I don't know what to tell you about those people, except for they're old-fashioned and they're ignorant, and they refute their colleagues' information, and honestly insulting someone and the entire body of education. To me, I mean, you're not an educator in my book. You're a person who's began to become arrogant in the knowledge you have, and you apparently didn't know that knowledge keeps building. So you might be proven wrong. I'm so sorry, adoptive children. When I speak, I'm not trying to prove that I'm right or wrong, but I know that today I say A, tomorrow it might not be true. Tomorrow, for all I know, they find out something new and it will be B. Will I be ashamed? No, I won't, because I'm sharing something that I know has value and meaning to someone, and I'm not doing it to prove that I'm right. That's the difference between adults or adaptive children. When you try to prove you're right, you're also insecure, by the way. Because if you're certain about your truth, you don't need to prove it. Time will give us all the answers. There's a saying in Italian, lies have short legs. And when you know that life is consistently moving into its next best step, it's only people that are short-sighted that don't understand how the flow of life works. Excuse me, they're not 5D mystics. Those of us who are, we know it's all good. So, back to love. And to Stephen Porges and Daniel Siegel. So with the integrated mind, all hands on deck, default mode network downregulated. Neuroception is the word that I think I used already. I don't know, but that's where the oats is communicating. So for most people, what I've seen adaptive children have is this defense posture, and they get very, very defensive. I get very, very charged. I'm learning more and more how to have a more adult tone in very important topics from the heart. So speaking from the heart is straightforward. Learning how to be the adult with it, that one is one that varies, because when we're interacting with each other, our nervous systems are communicating. So if I'm at ease but you're not, I'm going to need to learn how to recalibrate in an effort to maintain my ease, which I can do by mind sifting and mind sight, and being mindful, which is easy, once again, for a person who does tend to and have mastery, not control. Mastery means I flow with my emotions. It means if I'm upset, they can come forth because I know how to share them, not transfer them. The transference that takes place is when the person's reactive. So one, social engagement system is the way that you are going to be in a state of love, because your body knows it's safe. So even if you're attacking my belief system, my body will not be feeling that it's being physically attacked, which is instead what most people, their brain, the way it works, at least for now, is that when someone attacks your belief system, the brain actually treats it like your physical safety is in threat. And that's because the ego self of you, which is you, has belief systems that are allocated in places that are special, and you're going to say, but I am right. Automatically, you're wrong. The impact is immediate. The only person who can choose to disengage from that reactivity is the individual who stores the emotions and the thoughts and says, wait a minute, I'm a differentiated self. I'm a human, they're a human. I don't have to have the same belief. These thoughts don't have to agree, but to have that, you need self-empowerment, true confidence, which means that it isn't about being right or wrong. It isn't about controlling anything, and it isn't about me it's not about anything except for it's an exchange of ideas and thoughts and yada, yada, yada. So most people, again, they don't really do this. So every conversation depends on if you're talking about things that people are okay with, then it's all great and dandy. The minute you start to share what they think according to their stereotypes, generalizations, all the very dumbed down conversations that sometimes I get to engage in, it's dumbed down for a person like I, because there's a lot that I would be able to share, but I won't, because I'm going to have to begin to argue with people who actually are convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are certain things in place because that's how we're made. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not, again, we don't try to prove it right. We like to enlighten the conversation and have fun, first of all. And life is too short to get into any type of argument with anyone, for that matter. Adaptive children are not trying to transform. They actually have consolidated all of what they are, and they refute, even when intellectually cultured. This is the part that gets me. So I have a friend of mine that I tease a little bit, and yesterday I did this as they were using one of their "I'm an evil person" story again. I said to them, is this the most creative you can get? And my younger friend, who's expanding, he made a joke. And his joke was basically, silent behind me, but look at that. And the person moved away, which she's done before. And the young gentleman said, did you notice how he just chose to disengage from what you just said? I said, yes, I did notice, because I've already addressed the topic with him before. And that I said, I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm actually doing it just because he has such a huge amount of information that he's reducing everything that he does into this facade and this personality that doesn't need to be the only thing he talks about or the only examples. He has a lot more in his creator space. But in order to create, you need to have a level of comfort in being yourself. Yourself as you are, with your imperfections and your flaws, means speaking your mouth. So, example, I don't have these social filters, and I usually lead just from whatever I feel like, and it pretty much goes well. But there are those who lead with social filters who at times will want to present to me aspects, and those aspects we meaning the 5D person, because it's a person who thinks beyond, because we perceive the depths of the world of people. And I should say, we pick up, first of all, your non-verbal language. The self has already an existence in your body. It's you. And then those fragmented, the trauma memories, they want to be seen. So they want to be met by compassion. This is why compassion shatters compulsiveness. It shatters the shame cycle, because it allows a person to be seen for who they are and welcomed. Compassion. The insula lights up. The amygdala, the temporal junction, the prefrontal cortex, and your ventral vagal nervous system state is engaged. The oxytocin gene hormone is released, and that is a body in a state of love. An integrated mind with a restorative embodied self, which is what a 5D person will be either their entire life, move themselves towards, however you want to look at it. It's a whole self. They don't do the I need to heal me, because we are aware we're a human being and we want to love each other. And we don't have a hard time speaking from the heart, because what's the part about emotions that people don't get? But we won't know what it's like to have a shame body, which is dysregulation, modulation. We won't know what it's like to have this trauma memory come up, which is very painful. Heartbreak, gut wrench, torn apart. Thank you, Bessel van der Kolk. We won't know that, but we will know how to be compassionate when people who are in those states will answer us and treat us in certain ways. And we will also know how not to do transference or countertransference, because our heart will only feel sad when these individuals take, whether it be their social filters, whether it be their cliche sentences, and then go and use misinformation. Because, again, there's a lot of beautiful people out there. They're giving misinformation. Love is not unrequited. Love is an emotion. It actually comes from your body. There's a brain circuit for it. There's a whole bunch of things that people don't know about love. And as a teenager, for example, I already knew that love is not one human being as a solo poly. In fact, I already told that one human being, by the way, you don't get more time because you and I are an item. You get equal time, and if you can't handle it, that's your stuff, not mine. We're not objects, we're not property, we're not ownership. This is where a person who is an integrated mind, a restorative embodied self, and is an actual optimal adult human is forgiving and nuanced, because we don't seek our relationships to attach. We have a sense of security within us. So again, though we won't know the shame, blame, fault, revenge cycles only when people are doing them, we will know how to use our words. And in time, it is thanks to our choice of compassion that naturally comes from within our body, because we will not be mad at people when we can feel that their rudeness, their meanness, their whatever people that use their little social filters want to do, their manipulation, their gaslighting, their lying, their blocking, their unfriending, their cold responses, everything, that their insults, the words, anything and everything that a person will do to another person. When you are an actual enlightenment soul age group individual, let me add that one here, your heart will only feel very sad about these aspects, and you will keep on learning, though, about how to use language communication. That's where my lovely functional adult love language for the enlightenment soul age group inclined person, or at the very least a 5D inclined person, the paid subscription podcast model content, because there are ways for us all to be in a space called heart. It's where you stop before you speak, and you get a hold of your adaptive child, and you get a hold of your emotions, and you recognize my beliefs are not the only ones around, and I can speak with a tone that is respectful. Doesn't matter what I think I know or I don't know. I can disengage from getting into some type of little spit spat. Why? Because you're human, others are human, nobody knows everything. That's why in love, it's not something that is in one human being, it's something that you feel if you feel safe in your own body. So the people who don't yet feel safe, they have shame, blame, fault, revenge cycles, inner critic, outer critic, denying through addictions, drugs, sex, food, alcohol, compulsive activity, and withdrawing. The withdrawing can mean silence, can mean hanging out with the same people again and again and again. What it means is it's a person who doesn't grow up, who doesn't actually get to tap into more of the beautifulness that they are, because they think emotions are not present, because they don't understand that their nervous systems and the sensations, you are your emotions first and foremost. Your thoughts come after. Either you wield how you begin to work with the emotions, or you don't. And it's, something that takes the conscious wanting of a person. To choose love is straightforward for the 5D person, which is why we share it compassionately and infinitely and forever, as long as we can. I hope that you have enjoyed and that you will come back. In the meantime, have a great day.